I don't think you guys are going to expect me to bring up this name, but I don't know if you guys are familiar with the former Duchess of York, Sarah Ferguson, who was married to Prince Andrew. Um, so you, Gene Okerlund asked you an innocent question on Nitro that seemed to cause you some problems. Can you tell everyone what happened?
Yeah. So, again, I don't expect any of you to know what I used to do in WCW. Everybody here's time reference for what you know me for will be very different. I've been in this job for 39 years now, right? I've been in America it'll be 30 in January. How can you possibly have seen what I've done? Of my career, there is probably a 50th of it on film. Used to work minimum of 12 shows a week for 20 weeks a year in the summer season. It used to be 20-week summer seasons in England, right? So I don't expect you to know what I've done. But I was on a roll in 1996. And there was a lot went on that year and then all kinds of stuff going on. In 1995, it was when Sarah Ferguson had got caught sucking some Texas oil billionaire's toes by some paparazzi fella. Might have been somebody you know. So, and it was a big scandal. I don't know if any of you can remember this, or because it's a long time ago. But if you ask people of my age, it was a big deal, right? Because you didn't hear that kind of stuff in those days. And it was a big deal. Well, the interviews, the promos that I have got me through this, I used to get away with absolute murder because I could get with, and I'm sort of doing stuff now. You get it, and you probably get, because you've grown up watching British comedies and stuff, and I'm a carry-on character. And when I went to America, originally, when I was Lord Stephen Regal, that was the whole point. It was a carry-on wrestling in my head. And now I'm William Regal. There's a split bit. There's a bit of carry-on wrestling, and then there's a bit where I can go all kinds of serious when I need to. And that's what I like. I don't have to think about it. It's just become me. All these things that I've had to do has been really serious at times, and then a bit of everything. Well, years ago in WCW, I used to somewhat think about this stuff and go, anybody, because WCW used to show late night in England, anybody who sees me there will be in on the act with me. They'll get that first of all, I'm supposed to be a lord, and I have this moody accent that I don't really have, and I overdo it. And they can see that I'm doing all these little bits of comedy that everybody had grown up with, and they can see I'm just playing a silly character. But the Americans will hate me for it, because it's very stereotypical of what anybody in America thinks the English people were in those days, which was all, all they ever saw was films. And if you ever saw a villain in a film, it was, I don't know if anybody even know who Terry Thomas was, but they play these aristocrat kind of villainous roles, and he was in loads of Disney movies and that. So I have to explain to American audience, instead of a pantomime villain, I was a Disney villain, right? But I was a pantomime villain. But I had a serious edge to me when I needed to. But on this, I would get away with all kinds of stuff, and I did a lot of stuff that would go over. It didn't matter. It worked on lots of levels. People would go back and go, that was funny. But if you were American, I used to get away with some really seriously knocking America, which you wouldn't be able to do now, right? And get away with a lot of stuff. And it was different time. And dear me, I don't think I can possibly be cancelled, because I wouldn't know. I don't have Facebook. I go on Twitter twice a week. I put stuff on it. I don't read anything. I don't, I'm just joking. But I like to think that I've, changed it. But in those days, it was just a 25-year-old American bashing is what I was doing a lot of, and finding it funny, or anything that I could just get away with. I was like, I'll say what I can until somebody says no. And I used to get the odd thing would come from ITV. Somebody, and Tony Schiavone being one of them, would or Eric Bischoff or somebody would come say, I had a letter off ITV, or it was, whatever it was in those days. I don't think there was emails then, right? This would be the 90s. You can't do that. And there was also other things. Somebody today said they used to block out the chair shots. And you weren't allowed... I remember this vividly happening. The Nasty Boys, I don't know if any of you know those guys, but... Right, well, they were just one match. I know, because a great thing that happened to me, as soon as I got to America, I had to learn that Tony Schiavone gave me a great opportunity to... You can all film yourselves on your phones now. You take that for granted. I wasn't that good at this because British wrestlers didn't really talk. I'd been practicing for years, but I'd never had to actually do it. And he set up a camera in the CNN Center in Atlanta where WCW was based, and I used to go down on my days off when I first got there and just cut promo after promo after promo, because my family wasn't there. They can only come for 3 months, and so we chose for them to come in the summer. That was all that they were legally allowed to come with us for 3 months. So I had nothing else to do but on days off, go to the power plant and train. So I ended up training a lot of people and helping a lot of people because people had helped me. And then on a Wednesday, it was this all day long. And I've been in there as long as 12 hours, just because doing it in front of a mirror and practicing is one thing. When you actually see yourself, you go, I don't like this. And it was just a lot of me practicing. But also Tony Schiavone, bless him, put me on commentary with, if you don't know the name, it's a very famous name in American announcer history, Gordon Soley. So at 25, I'm doing the dubbing over for WCW, whatever showed in this country, with Gordon Soley, because we had to redo it for the... And so I'm doing all kinds of little gags on there, but just getting used to it. So that was my first foray into doing any kind of announcing, which is probably lost to history now. There might be a few people have a few tapes knocking about. I've never heard any of it, because I just did it, and it was just another day at work. But that was happening early on, so I got used to talking quickly. So once I did, and I got into that character, everything was fair game. Recently, that stuff turned up that me and Bobby did from... they said, and I had such trust with WCW, that the thing with, when I did with Bobby Eaton, they just went, okay, go and film some vignettes. Here's a camera crew. So I went and did the initial Blue Bloods, us getting together. Then there was some that showed up not long ago. Blue Bloods in Hollywood. It was just a video extra of a Bash at the Beach pay-per-view. And the things that I got away with on that, you would never get away with. And that was just me coming up with my sixth sense of humour. We went to O.J. Simpson's house right after this murder had happened. And again, you see, you're all going, ooh. If you're my age, you go, ha ha ha, because it's just different times where years ago, people of my age, you either laughed or you cried a lot. And just the way it was. And it's not a bad thing. It was just the way it was. Now you have to think before you say things. Well, people didn't think as much, as you probably know. And if you're lying to yourselves, if you don't know somebody who's old, who says the wrong things or has the wrong ideas. Well, I'm not like that. I was of the generation that we knew better. But you still have to learn things along the way. You know, things even... I watched something of Lee Mack, the comedian, from 15 years ago. My wife said, oh, let's watch that thing. She watched it when he was on live at the Apollo. I watched that from 15 years ago. There's no way he could get away with the material he did. And that was a politically sort of correct time. He did a couple of things on there that I thought 15 years ago, there's no way you could do that now. So you have to, like, when you put things into perspective of just normal things that you would say, things change, and you just have to change with them. So I would get away with all kinds of stuff. And I would push it, right? And so we go to O.J. Simpson's house. And it's out there. It showed up recently. It's out it was out. It's because somebody told me about it. So I went, wow, because I hadn't seen it. I remembered it, but I hadn't seen it for years. And there was a bit where, again, you need to watch it, because what I used to get away with was murder when I was doing stuff, right? We're at O.J. Simpson's house, and there's still all the police tape around, and there's like a big hedge outside, and because playing on the fact that Bobby Eaton doesn't know what's going on, I'm sort of doing, you've all seen Police, the thing with Leslie Nielsen, you know, they used to do those kind of things, right? You understand so when you're oblivious to what's happening in the background, there can be all kinds of chaos, and you're just, so I'm just going, we're at the unfortunate site of the terrible happenings of O.J. Simpson. Why I'm just talking normally. As we're actually filming this, there are cars going by, heckling us. Leave them alone. Like they thought we were another film crew. Just, you know, people that lived in the neighborhood heckling us, right? But they've sent me out to film something. I'm going to film it. And we didn't have any permits either to film anything. We just went out and, again, you just get away with stuff. It's 1995 or what, I don't know when it was. About 1995, I think. Yeah, it was, 1995. So I'm there like that. Bobby Eaton is just like looking oblivious. He walks behind me, and we'd brought a big dagger with us. And we'd put it in the edge. So as and again, you can look this up, as I'm talking about this thing, Bobby Eaton walks behind me, and all you see is him pull this dagger out of the hedge and just look at it and go, and put it back. And he walks up to me, and I just go, can you see anything worth looking at here, Robert? And he went, no. And we just walk off. And there's other things on that. And again, it just showed up recently. There's one, oh dear. When I say it out loud now, and when you watch it, but it was a different day and age. River Phoenix had just died. And so we went to the Viper Room where he'd just died. Because you could, again, my character was to make Americans hate me. And I wanted to push it as much as possible. We went and filmed, again, in the daylight, just no permit, which you need everywhere in LA, you need a permit to do anything. We just turned up, and it was like, what do they call that when you just turn up and jump out of a car and film something? There's a name for it. I've heard the news people use it without, anyway. But there's a name for it that they use, and you're not allowed to do it. But we just pull up in a car, jump out, do this thing, and jump back in a car, and we're off before anybody's got a chance to know what we're doing. So we pull up outside the Viper Room, and I went, this is the spot exactly where, because he'd come out the Viper Room and just fell on the floor and died. Had choked on his own vomit or something. He didn't have an overdose. So I went, this is the place where the brilliant young actor River Phoenix died, and right on this spot. And I went straight into my horrible, villainous Lord Stephen Regal character and just went, I haven't been able to sleep since. And I just walked off. And so I used to get away with a lot of stuff that I just thought was me being funny, right? And anybody that at the time used to go, that's funny. It's not that way anymore. People, and rightly so, but it's just the time. So Sarah Ferguson had not long been caught with this Texas oil billionaire, and it was a scandal in the British newspapers. It was and it hit America, and people knew about her. And this is the following year, and I'm on a roll. I had a really good Probably my favourite wrestling year was, for me, if I weigh up what I actually did in 1996, that was the best year of my career. As far as what I did, the matches I wrestled, the places that I went that nobody else was going to, because I actually was going around the world, or went, when I say around the world, I went to a lot of countries that outside, and I was able, WCW let me, because I was backwards and forwards to New Japan, and I ended up coming over here for the summer, and I went to Germany for one match, and I'm trying to think what else. Oh, I wrestled at Croydon for All-Star Wrestling Promotions, and I also did a week on Butlins, just so I could be around my friend Robbie Brookside for the week. I got to do a lot of stuff, but I also wrestled a match against Hashimoto, who was the IWGP champion. I had two matches with him. One, the first, and I believe, and I don't clap this, but I was the first British person to ever challenge for the IWGP championship, I believe. That was the 95 match. There's a 96 match not many people have seen, which is a better match, and at the Corrigan Hall, which is a very famous place. And I didn't know this at the time, but he liked me so much. I was the first person to ever kick out not only of one of his finishes, but both of his finishes in one match. And it cemented my whatever, because of, I've wrestled, if you just probably heard, Mr. Inoki died. I wrestled Mr. Inoki in 94. I have a different standing with Japanese wrestling fans than I do with a lot of people, because I'm the only person of my age that's wrestled Mr. Inoki. I'm the only British person the first British person to wrestle for the IWGP Championship. I was the first person, and if, I don't want to, this sounds a bit odd, but if you go back and watch Hashimoto, if Hashimoto kicked most wrestlers today, they would die. You had to be a proper heavyweight to be able to wrestle Hashimoto. He would kill you. He would beat you to death. Right? And you can watch his matches and see him kicking people and watch them. Some people be able to handle it and some people not. And I have seen him kick people so badly and leave them so that they don't come back anymore. Right? This was a different time when that was when it was really strong style. Right? This is a different world. When Mr. Inoki ran New Japan Pro Wrestling, was a different time. Right? So I have a bit of a thing in Japan. So anyway, there's a lot going on in 96 for me. I've been all over the place, and I was wrestling all kinds of people and different stuff, and it was all good. And one of the things was, because I could do this, coming down the ramp on Nitro live, and Mean Gene Oakland, who was, again, how did I get to work with Mean? These are just names that you hear now, and they're no longer here. And I used to, regular thing with me and Mean Gene, right? And you can watch them on the network or wherever. And it was walk down the ramp live before a match, Mean Gene, Lord Stephen, boom. Well, I walked down the ramp on Nitro, and he said, Lord Stephen, there's been... There's rumours that you've been hanging out with the Duchess of Queensberry, Sarah Ferguson. And I went, and again, please, ladies, I apologise. I said, yes, that is true, Gene. I said, and it was just like me falling into a ripped-out fireplace. And Mean Gene, being Mean Gene, and as brilliant as he was, went. And I just carried on walking to the ring. And I did whatever match I was doing. And the next week, there was 2 letters that turned up at WCW. One of them was from ITV, saying, do not do that again. And one of them, and this is absolutely true, was from Buckingham Palace. because you may know, you're in the journalistic world. They monitor things, or they used to, especially in those days, and you cannot say things like that because that was a very, at the time. Again, things change, and years later, and from the 2000s, I would see people doing stuff on TV, and I thought, oh, you couldn't have said that a few years ago in England. But things change, so that the parameters changed on what you could and couldn't say about the royal family. Well, this was like the first big scandal that had happened in years. Here's one for you. Keep me on track here. Let me finish that bit off, and then tell me about the law, the rules of British wrestling. So there was a letter from Buckingham Palace to WCW. Make sure that whoever, I can't imagine whoever had to write that, because can you tell Lord Stephen Regal not to talk about Sarah Ferguson's private parts, please, on TV? But somebody had to. And I was given a warning, like, you will lose TV for us in the UK. Do not do that again. And I just thought it was funny at the time. And now, but then when in the last, how long was I in NXT for? And 12 years, was it? Again, I have to ask people. 12 years. Well, then I'm on the other side of that, and then you're going, can I ask you why you're doing that, please? Do you want to lose us TV, or do you want to, these things come back to that I've had to tell people, and I've done it since I've been in AEW. I've had a few words with a few people. Look, do you want to be the one that loses this, get things to, don't push it too far, because things can happen, and whether they want to listen or not is up to them. But this was a really serious thing, but I sort of laughed it off, but looking back, that was a pretty serious thing. So that's the unfortunate thing was, years later, she was pretty much ostracized, the poor woman, right? And she still is, right? She certainly is now. Christ, I bet she's glad she got out of it, right? Oh, no. Oh. Huh. Huh. Yeah. That was all about protecting his honor. And if you think about it, I get a letter, don't talk about his ex-wife or his wife that he split up from, to protect him. Dirty bastard. I hope he ends up next to him up. Bastard. Anyway, don't get me started on all them people.
Back on track.
Yeah. So years later, this poor lady, she's still the Duchess of York, but she's got to make a living because they've sort of cut her off. And when I was again, I don't know if you know this reference. It's normal to me, and it is to some of you, but not some of you. You might have only seen me in AEW. You might have only seen me from NXT. You might not know me at all. I don't expect you to know. But in the mid-2000s, I was with a character called Eugene. And me and Eugene had great chemistry on TV, and we had to go and do whatever Raw was. Monday morning, we had to go and do the local breakfast news. And we turn up, and there's like a big like, what do you call them? Limousine, but like usually they were those, the old style limousines. Well, before, now they have the big one. It was one of those before you saw one of those outside this little TV studio in Milwaukee. And me and Eugene are just going to promote the show at the 9 o'clock breakfast hour, whatever, local news show in Milwaukee, local cable channel or whatever. And this car's there, and they went, oh yeah. And somebody met us outside. There was me, Eugene, the driver, and always a PR person from WWE or anywhere I went, WCW, there's always they send a PR person with you. And you might have done some of that. You've been around with me when they always they do that. We've done interviews and stuff. And they said, we just got to warn you that they have a special guest here today, the Sarah Ferguson. And unfortunately, it was a bit sad, really. She was flogging Weight Watchers. I mean, she had to flog. That's what she did. In America, because she was who she was selling Weight Watchers to people. But she still, because she was who she was, and she had children with that dirty old nonce bastard. Instead of a lot of what she had one MI6 guy with her or whatever it is, like British security with her. So they told us what you can and can't do before we go in. So why would she know about me? But all of a sudden, 10 years ago, the things I was saying about you and that. Well, Nick Dinsmore, Eugene, he hasn't grown up in Britain. I've grown up in Britain. Again, different time to you. I don't know. I would think pretty much everybody here is... class system isn't the same as it used to be when I was a kid. But it was the class system. You were working class. You just sort of keep quiet and don't do it. You don't... It's not your place. My dad... had the chance to meet the Queen twice. My dad and all my family were expert bricklayers and stonemasons. My dad has built 2 buildings that were opened by the Queen, and the people who, because he did such a good job, he was offered to meet the Queen twice, and he couldn't do it because he didn't. He just told me that recently. I felt a bit sad for him. He couldn't do it because he didn't feel like it was, he wouldn't know what to say to. He couldn't, and it's not, he doesn't, my dad's just growing up, he's not political, he's not religious, he's a working man, and he said, what would I say to, I don't know what to say. And he had the chance twice. Well, I don't know what to say. So I've gone into there, it's all a bit weird, and I feel sorry for her now, like so they said, you just, be polite and everything, and if she comes up to you, you can talk to her and all that. So I go in there with my head down because I'm a bit ashamed, really. And I'm thinking, now, I have no idea who I am, but I'm thinking, oh, God, I hope she don't remember, or she don't know what I've said about her. Because it wasn't the only thing. It was a regular thing for me to say a lot of things about her at the time. Because it was just easy prey. It was in the news, and it was easy prey for somebody like me on this to get a reaction with, because it was in the news. Nick Dinsmore hasn't grown up in England. Eugene hasn't grown. He doesn't have that feeling inside that you can't go near the royal family. He hasn't been told any of this. He doesn't understand that, right? They're all getting up in America and pledging the allegiance. It's anybody can be the president. Well, you know that here, right? Well, you certainly did when I went to school. So I just go in and I'm like that. She's over there. He just goes over to her in full Eugene character and hugs her. Right? And just said, oh, hello, my friend's from England. And she went, oh, yes. And now, because it's such a little place, we're just there. And I'm like, hello. And so she put her hand out, so I'm just like, hello. And she said, where are you from? And I went, Blackpool. She went, oh, Blackpool. I was like, you snobby cat. I didn't, but I didn't say anything like, I just wanted to, but I didn't. And I was like, So I just stood there, and then I had to watch her, and I felt, because we're just waiting to do our turn, because it's live TV. And it's really, from here to you, I can see the couch where and so she's like, we're here, just like there. In fact, you saw me stood there. She's walked out, sat on the couch. Yes, I'm here doing Weight Watch. Oh, hello, all that not. And I'm like, oh, this is a bit. It was just sad, you know what I mean? Like very odd and strange. So, but I do have when we come out, Eugene said, oh, let's get a picture. So there is a picture knocking about, of which is one of the very few wrestlers. My house has nothing of wrestling in it at all, except for a couple of pictures my wife has put up. I got a thing off the Cauliflower Alley Club and a thing from WWE. There's a couple of pictures in my bedroom, and there's in my lizard room in one room. Every time I did something for WWE magazine, because I was always nice to everybody, they used to send me some really weird pictures of me like holding a raven and so. My wife's put them up in this one room, but nobody goes in it. So if you come in my house, you wouldn't know I was a wrestler. And it's absolutely like that. I don't tell anybody, I go home, William Regal stays at the airport, right? That's a rule. It's nothing. That's it. It stays there. There's a little picture of me stood there, Nick Dinsmore doing that, and Sarah Ferguson don't know what to do with herself. She's just sort of like that. But that's in my house. So that was the Sarah Ferguson story anyway.